Fieldbuster.
I asked the boys to have a think about some films where what appears to be happening on the surface isn't what's really going on. Like, there might be people out there who think a film is actually about one thing, but really it's not at all. It's actually about this. Did you have
the only film I can think of is American Psycho. That's the only film that pops into my head straight away. Whereas at the end you're left guessing which way it goes. I mean, obviously in American Psycho 2 they've kind of ruined that, but we're going to ignore that film because it ruins a lot of stuff in life, like your love for film maybe even. But yes, that's the only film I can think of where you are left second guessing, and it also does it in that way that Paul says, where you as an audience are really unsure of it. Well, I've watched the film so many times and I don't know I think I've said this before, but I really don't know what to make my mind up about, whether he did it, whether he didn't. And yeah,
so let's say spoiler alert for anyone at this point who hasn't seen American Psycho.
We probably should have put that in before I mentioned it.
I know the other day, I can't remember what it was, Jenny was listening to one of our episodes, and like she'd seen the film that we were covering on the podcast, but then I can't remember who it was, one of us spoiled the ending of another film, and she was like, all right, well, I won't be watching that film now then. I know what
was it?
Yeah. We got to be careful about that in the future, because there'll be other people as well who probably get pissed off. I can't remember what film it was. But yeah, spoiler.
Could you have like a spoiler klaxon, Paul? You just completely interrupt me with like a, not interrupt, but just pause me with spoiler, like spoiler, and then I'll just carry on talking.
Why not?
We just keep that doing in the
I
future?
could potentially do that, yes. If that is the point right now, could you please, because it's your idea, Adam, can you please say spoiler in our usual voice?
Spoiler alert. Does that work?
Yeah. It was all gruff as well.
Oh, that doesn't work. I'm going to wait
Very
for
gruff.
it at the end.
You know, I'm leaving us all in the episode.
Spoiler alert.
All right, so spoiler alert for American Psycho.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
The book and the film. What's interesting about what you say, Adam, is that I think we maybe touched on this before, but I don't think we spoke about it in the American Psycho 2 episode, is that, Paul, you've read the book, right?
Yes.
The book and the film end in an almost identical way, but the thing that you're left feeling is totally different. In the film, you're led to believe that Christian Bale didn't do any of that shit, and it's his fucked up mind that made him believe he did. But in the book, everyone is so fucking superficial that they keep confusing one person for another. So when the guy's like, well, it's not possible, I had dinner with him last week, it's like, you didn't have dinner with him, you had dinner with someone else, but you live in such a superficial world, you think you had dinner with him. And Patrick Bateman realises, oh fuck, I've got away with all of this, because no one really knows who they were talking to at any given time. So they'll say, yeah, I was talking to Adam and I was talking to Paul. They weren't. We were dead. Yeah. So superficial, you didn't know who was who. And I really enjoyed that ending of the book.
They try to play it in the film a little bit, but then the ending, it kind of switched it to a different way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's the whole more palatable side of film that they have to make sometimes for films to be successful?
I should have prefaced this bit, because I had a little quote from Tracy Letts to begin this thing, because he said, movies can do a lot of different things. They can live in the eyes and minds of the character, the dialogue they speak, and the feelings they have for each other. Sometimes movies aren't about what is going on visually or scenically, and I like that. That's what prompted me to come up with this topic, because it's like, it isn't about what you're seeing, it's about the emotion behind what they're saying, the idea. It's actually about that.
Well, I hope this film fits, because you actually said movies where what you see happening might not really be happening.
That's right.
Right, so that's what I was approaching this subject as.
Movies where what you see happening isn't what's really happening.
Yeah, so my film was Donnie Darko.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Pretty much the whole film is a vision of the future that he decides, I'm better off killing myself than letting all these people be affected by the things I do in the future. That is pretty much the whole film.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I haven't seen that film in so long. I was just thinking about it the other day that I want to rewatch it. I feel like when it came out, everyone, like, I was like 16, I think, everyone was loving it.
Yeah.
And I watched it and I was like, yeah, it's good. But everyone was like, this is so important. This is like our film, our generation's film. And I kept thinking, I don't feel that way.
That's what it was, wasn't it? Everyone had like posters of
Yeah.
Donnie Darko. Yeah.
It was like, this is our film. It's our generation. Like, it's almost like if you're not a part of this, you don't get it.
I mean, that's
But,
dumb. That's
Like,
dumb.
I like it, but I can't really remember all that much about it. It was
All I remember is the bunny and the plane engine.
I give it a strong 9. A strong 9. It is a fucking great soundtrack, that film. Great soundtrack. But yeah, that's the gist of it, basically, that it's all about time travel and going through wormholes and seeing the future and the world end, because basically his world ends. That's the whole thing, isn't it? The world is ending.
Yeah.
But the world ending is actually kind of Donnie Darko's world ending, because everyone
his world,
around
his
him
personal
basically dying around him.
when you strip it right back, it's essentially about a kid who thinks the world is better without him.
Bit of a paradox though, because the plane that they're on at the end is the plane that the family's on that die, and the engine goes through a wormhole and lands on his house.
Yeah, there's always something like that, though, isn't there? Like with time travel movies, something always has to happen first that couldn't have happened unless something else had happened in the timeline that they're trying to change.
That's why I enjoy it though, because I like films that are not clean cut. That's why I love American Psycho as well, because you can always go back to it and you always want to try to understand it, but you never get all the way there.
Yeah,
And that's what I like about
watched
this
it
as well.
So many times, and I'm like, this time I will get it. This time I will notice something, and it's just not there.
But that's a good thing. I see that as a positive.
Okay.
Did you know there's a Donnie Darko too?
It's absolutely shit. So bad.
Darko.
Yeah, so bad.
Oh God, I never even knew that existed.
Yeah, I spoke about that in our terrible sequels to great movies.
Yeah, years ago. That's true. That's a throwback.
Yeah, throwback.
All right, I've just realised that my two films are actually Michael Shannon films. I only realised one of them was, but the second one is too. So the first film is Take Shelter, which we've spoken about kind of briefly before, but
yes.
I like how the whole...
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Of all of these films, we're going to talk about spoiler alert. So when you hear the film title, if you haven't seen it, stop listening.
Yeah.
Take Shelter, about a man who believes this terrible storm is coming to whisk away everything, and so ends up building this bunker underneath. But the whole thing is really about mental illness. I like that one. And the other film is something we covered on the podcast, is Nocturnal Animals.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Because
I like of course.
Even though you see the real world and then you see the story she's reading, we know that the story she's reading is actually like
Metaphorical.
And I liked in our Nocturnal Animals episode where we potentially touched on the fact that the Jake Gyllenhaal, again spoilers for everyone, Jake Gyllenhaal character within the novel might actually be metaphorical for Amy Adams' character. I want to rewatch it again through that lens. And here's one final film that I want you guys to hear your input on.
Very, very greedy host.
I know, I'm very sorry. Just indulge me with this final film. We all know it. We all know it very well. The Shining.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Which, of course, is this great horror film, but essentially, take it all away, and really, it's about an alcoholic in isolation who succumbs to his alcoholism and kills and wants to kill his family. That's what it's actually about in the film. It's just alcohol abuse.
And a bit of psychosis.
Yeah, brought on by the alcoholism.
He's got the underlying issue, and it's been brought through, I think, maybe, or something.
The only thing that breaks it being when Wendy sees two ghosts as she's running up the stairs. She sees one ghost that's with a wounded head saying something like "lovely party" or something like that. If she didn't see that, everything that you see in the film would only have been seen by Jack Nicholson.
We've already had this. We've had this exact same conversation, and I said, "How about Danny? He sees them all." And you went, "Oh yes."
Well, yeah, but Danny is a child who's been brought up in a relationship where the dad is an alcoholic and potentially quite abusive to both him and his mum. So the kid, at that age, 6, what he sees is very unreliable.
but then he also talks to the groundskeeper with his mind.
That's true. Or it's just Scatman Carruthers getting a really bad vibe, so he's like, I'm going to go back to that hotel. We don't actually see them communicate with their mind.
Yes, we do. He's like, hello, Danny. You have the Shining.
You hear Scatman do that thing. I know. But generally speaking, apart from those specific things, like, you can take that literally. That's what I mean. You can say, on the surface, you see those things, but what's really going on? What's the real story?
Yes.
And like in Bug, we saw fucking helicopters flying overhead and shit and heard that, but that was perspective and point of view and metaphorical.
Yeah.
I think Stephen King's The Shining, the book, is about ghosts and shit. I think Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is about isolation, paranoia, and alcoholism. And I think that's why Dr. Sleep leaned heavily into the fact that his dad was an alcoholic, and has one of the best fucking lines in years. I've only realised it since I've put some distance between the film and me, but one of the best lines from cinema in many, many years is man takes a drink, drink takes a drink, then the drink takes the man. That is fucking brilliant and so true.
Very good. Great film.
Do you reckon that's from the book? Or
I googled it the other day. It is.
Oh, it's from the Shining book. Oh, Doctor Sleep.
No, Doctor Sleep.
Oh, okay. Right.
Great line.
Fantastic.
Anyway.
Filmsbuster.